y'all doing? Charlie Agar with Charlie Bee Company in Seguin, Texas. Merry Christmas. It's almost that time of year, and we're going to give our bees a little Christmas treat. If you've got hives that are weak, if you grab the back of the hive, lift it up, and it's just super light, they don't have enough food for winter. Even here in South Central Texas, we're near San Antonio, our winters are not long, but bees will starve if they don't have the right amount of food. So they need extra food, and so they can't take in sugar water. We don't want to put liquid inside our hives in the middle of winter. It's too much moisture. It gets cold. It's like putting a popsicle inside the hive. So we can't keep feeding our bees. Our days are getting colder now. You know, it's just peaking up above 50 and 60 during the day, and then it's chilly at night, almost freezing at night. So this is Texas winter, so we can't really keep feeding even the heaviest syrup. So if you have a hive that's weak and you don't have honey that you can steal from other colonies, it's time to do some supplemental feeding. I consider this emergency feeding, right? I only do this if a hive is really in trouble. They just don't have the resources on them. It's Christmas cookies for our bees. So we're gonna make some Christmas cookies for the bees today. So it's really simple. All we need is a 5-gallon bucket, clean-ish, you know, food grade. Make sure this is something I've toted sugar water around to feed my bees. I've got 10 pounds of simple granulated sugar. Cheaper the better. The bees don't need anything fancy, not organic, not brown sugar or something, just simple granulated sugar, cheapest you can find, and get quantities. We're going to mix the sugar with water, and we're going to use this. This is a little paint stirrer. I like the plastic ones. They're a little, they don't mar the side of the bucket as much. And so a plastic paint stirrer, we use this to mix our sugar water on just a regular old drill. Take the sugar. So I have 10 pounds of sugar. So we're going to just pour that right in there. We have 10 pounds of sugar. And now what we do is add 1 tablespoon of water per pound of sugar. So we need 10 tablespoons of water. I pre-mixed 10 tablespoons of water is about 1.25 cups, right? So this is a 1 cup measuring cup. I overfilled it to be about 1/4. So we're just going to take that, we're going to mix it in here, and we're going to mix it up. Pretty simple. Take and just carefully get that water mixed. I want to do it for a couple minutes, really. What I really want is a consistency like craft sand, you know, that sand that you can kind of sculpt. It's got just a little bit of moisture in there. Okay, so the consistency is kind of sandy, right? It's like a sand. But it's not sticking to my hand too much. And so I've got my nice sandy, sugary mix. All I'm gonna do is just take it, and you could spray like a non-stick on here. I just put it right on. So we'll just take our product, scoop it on here, and we're gonna kind of just mush it down real nice. I'm gonna fill this whole pan. And then all we're really gonna do is dehydrate it, so it's gonna kind of harden this cake. I make my sugar bricks kind of thin so that I can actually fit it in between 2 boxes. I make them real kind of thin. What'll happen is they'll break. I'm not gonna get like perfect sugar bricks every time, but I don't really worry about it. I'm feeding the bees sugar. That's all that really matters. And it can be crumbled, it can be kind of a mess. Not a big deal. That's probably too much. The key too is to really squish it down, tamp it like concrete, right? And get a little bit more in there, right there. So I'll take this, just like Grandma used to do, right? And then I'm really going to just tamp it down. You can use anything really to just push it down. I'll use like a spatula. I'm just going to scrunch it right down. Push it into just a little cake here. Okay. And now we're going to go put it, we don't have an oven here in the bee shop, so we're going to take it up to the house. It's the following day, 12 hours later. This has dehydrated and kind of cooked in the oven overnight. Our oven setting, the lowest would go is 170 Fahrenheit, which I've done it at 140. For some reason, our new electric oven would not go that low. The result is this just really hard cake. It's one big solid piece. So what I'm going to do is just kind of bend the pan and then just kind of pop it out. It is like a brick, thus a sugar brick. So what I do with this, some folks will score it to make bricks, so it'll chip off like that, like in bits and pieces anyway. So I'm just gonna break it like that. And however I feel like using it, I'm going to use it. But this is nice and solid. The bees will eat on it. The one criticism I've heard of this is that it actually sort of damages their mouth parts because they have to chew really hard to get to it. Remember, this is emergency, right? I don't want to do this. I don't do it every time. Only if I have to. I just want to make sure that the bees have enough, and actually have enough coming out of winter, right? It's near Christmas here in Central Texas. It's when they come into February, end of February, and they start brooding up. They don't have enough food, right? So we want to make sure they have stores at that time too. If it's warm enough, we can start feeding. So, but this is just a stopgap. And like I said, my goal is not to do it. So this box here it's just a migratory cover, right? It's just got a little bit of lath to lift it up. It's not quite high enough to keep that covered, right? So you got that big old gap. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll put a shim, and all this is 3/4 inch wood I've ripped, and I made a whole ton of these all at once, and then I stapled them together. Really simple build. That just gives them a little bit of space on top, and we can have the bees access that food. I want it real close to the brood. I want it real close to the babies so that they can just get up and draw that food down, feed the babies. That's one strategy. Some folks will actually do this and put a towel. You can also use a second box if you don't have a shim, and there are commercially made shims. But you can also just use scraps of wood. All you got to do is make that space for that sugar brick, right? So all they need is a little bit of space like that. You can also just use an extra box, right? An extra box, and let me get some towels. I've seen folks actually use towels. I've not done this, but it's one strategy. I'll go ahead and just tuck that right in. Boop, boop, boop. So it looks like that, right? So we're kind of tucking that sugar brick in. I don't want the bees to necessarily get above the towel, so I'll kind of stuff it down on the sides. Another strategy, boom. There are a whole bunch of different types of top feeders that are made to handle sugar brick. So we carry a couple of different insulated hive setups. This is Apame. So Apame has this top hive feeder. So the top hive feeder, this just pops out. This section pops out. You put your sugar brick down in here, right? And then you cover it. And so the bees can then kind of come up through this on the bottom and get to that sugar brick. And these areas are made for liquid feed. So pretty cool setup. You can use this for pollen patty. You can use it for sugar bricks or any kind of winter feed you're using. Similarly, the Enel hives. This is our Enel lid. They have a top feeder like this. There's some that are 2 segments. There's a little open here. You pop that out, right? So the bees can actually crawl up in here. And then when you go back to doing liquid feed, this little rubber stopper will cover that hole. You can then use liquid feed in the same feeder. And the bees come up for the liquid feed through here. They come up for the solid feed through that opening. Works really well. So lots of different strategies for winter feeding. Again, the goal is not to have to do it. That's the ideal, is if we've got hives that are nice and big and fat, they've got plenty of stores on, they're ready for winter. That is the ideal. But if they don't, there's nothing worse than having your bees starve. They die with their noses down into the cells and their butts hanging out, and they starve themselves. And it's definitely beekeeper error. If my bees starve, and they're managed bees by me, it's on me. It is absolutely on me. It is totally preventable. So, if you don't have enough food on your hives, come up with a plan and get some solid food on. There are also some other products. Stan's soft sugar brick, sold by the Bee Supply. Awesome product. My good friend Stan Gore. This is it's like our sugar brick here. It's got a little bit extra nutrients in it, and it's a little softer, right? So these are really hard sugar bricks, bad for the mouth parts. This is a little bit softer. You can take it in pieces, feed it to other hives. You can also do fondant. So fondant, Hive Alive has fondant patties. You can buy regular fondant. The key to, you can get robbing in winter, so you want to make sure you're not in a robbing situation where there's other hives have access to it on a warm day. You don't want your hive to get beat up terrible. But this fondant is money. It's icing. It's icing. I almost want to eat it myself. It looks pretty good. So just some strategies for keeping your bees alive in winter. Hope everybody's having a good winter and looking forward to spring. That's what beekeepers do all winter, is just wait for those warm days to come.